You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for being here today. I'm Kirk Mona, and joining me are Rachel Gimza and Victoria Thompson. We're all naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders, just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Good to be here.
Oh, it's so good to be here.
I'm here just with Rachel this evening. Kirk has got some personal stuff going on this week and couldn't make it, so it's just the two of us, but we have some awesome topics here for you. At least mine is awesome. I assume
I'm
yours is awesome,
super
Rachel.
excited about this, Victoria.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get us started this week. And, tool use, non-human tool use, of course, is such a fascinating topic in nature.
Yeah.
We've talked a little bit about tool use in non-human animals.
Mm-hmm.
And today I'm going to talk about a sort of a variation, animals using other animals as tools.
I'm sorry. I feel like the definition of tool should be an inanimate object used to do a task, not using another animal to do a task. That's interesting. What?
I mean, what would you say to like a horse pulling a carriage? Is that a tool? I don't know.
I guess I wouldn't consider them tools, but I think it goes again to what's the definition of a tool, I guess.
Well, yeah, that is tricky and in fact contentious. I'm not going to get into it. But
okay.
At least not this week.
A rabbit hole I didn't know to uncover.
Yeah. This week I'm talking about birds using ants.
What? Okay.
Many species of birds, at least 200 species of birds, will on occasion pick up an ant in their beak and rub it over their skin or feathers.
Okay.
Yeah. This behavior
fascinating.
Yeah. There are actually two main forms of anting. The one that I just described is called active anting, where a bird picks up an ant, or more rarely, like a ball of ants, in its beak and rubs it.
Wild.
Yeah. The other type is called passive anting, and its behavior more similar to like dust or water bathing.
Okay.
Where, a bird will just lie on an anthill and let the ants crawl all over it.
A choice. Not a choice I would make personally.
No, me either.
Feels like a bad time.
Yeah. Or sometimes the bathing will occur in the dust of abandoned anthills. And this just total sidebar. When my son was about 18 months old, we were out in the garden in the backyard. And I don't know, I was doing some gardening and I think he was just exploring around. And all of a sudden he comes over to me very urgently and he's going, "Nt, nt, nt, nt." I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? And I suddenly see that he's covered with ants.
Absolute nightmare.
He must have started poking in an anthill somewhere. And "nt" was his little toddler way of saying ant. Like, yes, there are a lot of ants. Let's brush these off of you.
Let's get these off here.
Yeah, we had to take his clothes off to get it all off.
Not surprised. Oh my gosh.
So I guess this happens to humans too, but not on purpose, as far as I'm aware. But birds do it on purpose.
Again,
and
a choice.
Of course, it's kind of strange. This behavior was first described by science in 1831 by none other than John James Audubon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he noted wild turkeys wallowing in abandoned anthills. But, it's not always the easiest behavior to catch sight of in the wild. And a lot of the observations are pretty anecdotal. There's not a ton of experimental research on the topic.
Okay. Not surprising.
Yeah. So, of course, the big question here is why? What?
Yeah, why would you want an ant all over your feathers, your body? Because we have jokes about ants in our pants. Like,
Right? It's not comfortable.
no.
I've personally stepped on a fire ant hill as a child while trying to fly a kite, and that was no fun at all.
That sounds like a bad time, Victoria.
It was a really bad time. As far as I know, birds are not using fire ants for this. The species of ants that they most commonly use are ones that use formic acid as a defense mechanism.
Okay.
And formic acid is like pretty closely associated with ants. The name formic comes from, I think, the Latin for ant anyway. But it has anti-parasitic properties. So the hypothesis is that by anointing their feathers with the ants, like sort of forcing them to release their formic acid, that'll discourage bacteria, fungus, lice, etc.,
Okay.
on their skin and feathers. This all sounds good, sounds intuitive, but there was an experiment published in 2004 where they used agar plates. So this was a, lab experiment, not using actual birds, but they had agar plates with different bacteria and fungi, and they used different ant chemicals to try to inhibit the growth of these microbes on the plates. And they did find that pure formic acid did stop the growth of them, but the levels of formic acid that are found in ants, as well as other compounds that the ants secreted, were not enough to keep the bacteria and the fungi from growing, at least in this experiment. It's not definitive, but it's kind of interesting in that it leads away from that hypothesis. So the next leading hypothesis is that the birds are using the ants as a kind of skin conditioner.
Awful. We can introduce them to other ones.
Right?
Yep.
You can get some much better ones at your local pharmacy. But the birds don't always have access to those.
That's fair, I guess.
Anting behavior is seen most often in late summer and early fall, which is also when a lot of birds are molting.
Okay.
And, molting can actually be a very itchy and uncomfortable process. When feathers come through the skin, they're encased in sheaths called pins, which it's pretty descriptive, actually. If you kind of imagine a toothpick poking through your skin from the inside, I think it would be really quite uncomfortable.
That sounds unpleasant. Yeah.
It does. And, anecdotally, people who have birds as pets say that they're cranky when they're molting and so forth. But this formic acid from the ants is thought perhaps to be soothing to the skin somehow.
Okay.
If the ant's not actually biting you, but it's just like releasing this liquid, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, sure, why not?
One supporting fact for this hypothesis is that active anters usually apply the ants to their wing and tail feathers, which is where the largest and stiffest feathers come through. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make of that what you will. The third hypothesis is that birds ant in order to rid the ants of distasteful chemicals before eating them. So, some species do eat the ants after rubbing them.
That just feels rude.
Yeah, right.
You did a service and then you get eaten?
Well, that's what blue jays and starlings, for example, are doing. And there was an experiment that was published in 2008 using hand-reared blue jays. Mm-hmm. And these birds, reared by humans from hatching, they had never seen ants before, and they were presented with ants that were the type that do produce formic acid, and ants from the same species that had their formic acid sacs surgically removed. Okay.
Science is so fun, y'all.
Can
you imagine doing surgery on an ant?
Right?
Yeah.
Well, there was that topic you did with the ants on stilts. So
That's true. Just sometimes science just thinks, why not? Feels like a great way to figure that out. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But at any rate, the blue jays tended to do the anting with regular ants before eating them. But for the ants that had been surgically modified, they just ate them without doing the anting behavior first.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, like, somehow they could tell maybe that they didn't have the formic acid sacs, and they're like, oh, I don't have to get rid of that nasty stuff. I'll just eat the ant right away. Maybe. Of course, many and perhaps most species do not appear to eat the ants after using them, so this can't be the only explanation, even if it is partially an explanation for some situations. And the final explanation is definitely the weirdest. Some people believe, some scientists even, that the birds are using the ants to self-stimulate. Basically just because it feels good, like tingly, or I don't know. Apparently birds often behave excited or kind of drunk when anting, particularly during passive anting when there are a bunch of ants crawling all over them. So, not much in the way of experimental evidence supporting that one, but it's certainly intriguing.
Yeah, that would be wild. I mean, like, sure.
And of course, more than one of these explanations could be true at the same time. We just don't know.
Wild.
Also, but get this, sometimes birds use alternates to ants for the same anting behavior. Birds have been observed anting with a type of snail called a garlic snail, with earwigs, caterpillars, millipedes, grasshoppers, even cigarette butts.
Okay.
Yes. Maybe these birds are just confused. But many of these creatures or objects have some kind of chemical that they emit that might have either a soothing or an anti-parasitic effect. So could be they know something we don't know.
I mean, I guess so, but
Yeah.
It's
weird. That's why I'm talking about it.
Yup, that's all I got for you today is
Uh-huh. All right. Well, I had a number of sources this week. Got some good information from Wikipedia. The 2004 paper on the agar plates was by Hannah Revis and Deborah Waller, published in the Auk in October 2004. There was some good information from GeorgiaWildlife.com, Birdwatching Daily, and then the experiment with the hand-reared blue jays was in Chemoecology from December 2008 by, I can't pronounce the name, Eisner and somebody or other. Yeah. Well, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, it'll be Rachel.
Thanks, Victoria. All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. All right, so you went pretty small with ants and birds this week. I'm also getting small. So way back in episode 150, you talked about shrews. Which,
yes, I found a shrew in my basement.
Exactly. Like that, by the way, I looked, this was like 2022, 2023 that we talked about shrews. So if you haven't listened to that episode, you should, because it's wild. And Victoria, you did a really good job of giving a good overview of different shrews and the family of animals that they are, and just some of the more interesting things about that group. So a brief refresher for all of us, because let's face it, it's been over 100 episodes, so let's talk about those. I am going to get into the specifics of a certain shrew today that is pretty fascinating, so we're not just rehashing. I actually have something slightly different. So brief refresher.
Okay.
While they look like mice, They are actually not in the rodent family at all. They're in their own group, partially due to the fact that they are carnivores as well. They don't really eat plants and things. They're not rodents. So in your head, envision a mouse with short little legs, a real slender pointed snout. Think like very conical, very, very pointed. I always think that it's very like villain-esque in a cartoon. And they have really small eyes, and their fur is pretty dense. And like I said, they are primarily insectivores or carnivores. Some of them have been documented taking down larger prey or like frogs and amphibians and things. So they don't really eat plants. That's not their thing. Being small, and you covered this in your episode of Shrews, they have to eat a certain amount of food every day in order to keep their body and their heart rate going, because it's really hard to be a small mammal. You have a certain body temperature you have to keep at a certain point, otherwise you're gonna die. It's a thing. So now that we have a brief refresher on shrews, and one of the things I didn't mention, but you did mention that some of them are even venomous, which is wild. We love venomous mammals on this show. We will continue to love the venomous mammals that keep appearing. So this week, I want to get into the specifics of certain shrew. This shrew is called the Hero Shrew.
Hero like
Yes,
superhero?
like superhero. Actually, it's a great thing that you brought up. Anyway, the Latin name, Kirk, you are editing this, I assume, so please add this to my tally. Scutosaurix somerini. Thank you. Holding for applause, everyone. Thank you.
Sounds great. I'll give you full points for that. I have no idea how it's spelled.
I'm not going to spell it. So this is a rather large shrew, and it lives in the Congo Basin in the middle of the African continent. In the undergrowth of the forest, both the lowland and the highland rainforests. It's a grayish-brown color, which is not unheard of for shrews, and is about, on the big side, it is 25 centimeters long from tip to tail.
Oh, that is a
pretty big shrew. For those of us who don't speak science, that is 9.6 inches from tip to tail on the high end. They get to be maybe like a couple inches shorter otherwise. But that's still pretty big. It's not the biggest shrew, but it's up there. One thing to note is that their fur is actually split into two different types. One is a little bit more special than the other one, I guess. One of the two types of fur actually produce some scent that they are then able to use as marking. So they can rub that section of fur on for territory and trying to repel other shrews from their area, or like mark something like, this is mine, stay away from me.
Yeah. Like a lot of animals
do that. And the other fur is more sensory, just helping them feel the world around them a little bit better.
Because their eyesight's pretty bad, I'm guessing.
Is terrible. That is another thing about shrews. When we say their eyes are tiny, like sometimes you can't find their eyes because their eyes are so small. So they are huge on scent. Now, the scent chemical, a fun little random fact about these mammals is it's so like potent that, and how they produce it can even turn the fur like a yellow color because of the composition of the scent marking, which is wild. Okay.
Do we know what it smells like?
I should have looked that up. I did not.
I bet it
probably
stinky.
smells terrible. I will be honest that these mammals are just kind of getting their heyday, sort of. They're not super well understood. There's not a ton of information about them, but there's still some. So that is not something I looked into, partially because all of what I just said is just a side note.
Okay.
All right? So this is just background for you. To get into the really strange thing, let's tell a story.
Oh, I love a story.
Now, the people of the Congo, like the native people of the Congo, the Mengebetu, have known about the Hero Shrew for a very long time. And there's actually some traditions around the shrew that I can get into in a minute if you want. Way back in
Please.
1910, some locals were helping an exhibit. Way back in 1910, some locals were helping an expedition in the Congo Basin. They were naturalists, so they were exploring and trying to learn about all sorts of things. Take it however you will. Herbert Lang and James Chapin were these naturalists. And they all came across this Hero Shrew, okay? And as the story goes, one of the Mengebetu men, who was around 160 pounds, did a little bit of a ceremony and then stepped on the shrew and balanced on one foot on top of this shrew.
Wait,
Yes.
what?
Yes. He then stepped off after a few minutes, and the shrew left, seemingly unharmed, and scurried away.
It wasn't
It was
squashed?
not squashed. It scurried away.
Huh.
For those of you who don't understand, most of us pretty much understand because we understand that, like, small mammals are fragile. Mice, easy to hurt, easy to squish. It's a thing.
Yes.
The equivalent of this is a human holding 10 elephants at the same time for, like, a weight comparison. Okay? Like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
this is not small. And this shrew seemed to have just been just fine and kept going. So let's get into why. And, like, there's debate about this because, again, this is anecdotal and we don't actually know if that was true or not. And the story has, like, stayed pretty consistent, but still. So the Hero Shrew has an insane spine. This is very true. And we're just getting into some of the genetics. Like, literally this last March, they discovered which genes caused their spine to be the way it is. Okay. So
they have like a super
they
spine?
very much have a super spine. It goes in. It's really funny you said you equated this to superheroes because they have a super strength spine. So even like other shrews or other mammals, their spine is very, very different. So instead of the vertebrae of the spine just interlocking, so our spines and most mammals have a long string of vertebrae, which have some bumps and 3 like protruding processes is what they're called, that anchor together and fit like interlocking pieces that allow us to twist and turn and bend. But there's some space in between and ligaments and cartilage and other pieces that interlock together to allow us to bend and twist.
Yeah.
Hero shrews
Totally.
have all of those things, but like on steroids, okay? To the
Okay.
point when you look at it, it looks like a single big bone structure. It doesn't look like a vertebrae. Some equating is like a multi-layered zipper because the vertebrae interlocked on the sides and lower parts and they mesh together. Rather than, like, one of the comparisons I saw was it looked like corrugated cardboard almost. Like, it's just a very long, very twisted, like, interlocking sequence of bones.
How wild. Okay. I'm looking at some pictures now.
It's
Yeah, it's like, it looks almost like an alligator's back or something.
Or what you would imagine an alligator's back to be. Yeah.
Yeah, or like the bumpy outside of it, the picture I'm looking at, just like lots and lots. There's more stuff, more spine stuff.
Yeah.
It seems like it's doubled or something.
Well, funny you say that. So instead of, most mammals have 5 lumbar vertebrae, which is our lower back. This is the part that if you have back problems, often it's your lumbar that are the issue. As someone who has thrown their back out multiple times, it's usually the lumbar. They have, instead of the 5, most mammals have 5, not just humans, mammals in general.
5 lumbar
vertebrae. They have 11.
Oh, okay.
And they're still small, and it just interlocks so well. This also means that their movement is different. They've been equated to moving very similarly like a snake because they kind of go back sideways, side to side more of how they move versus up and down because of how their spine interlocks. They are not able to like move up and down very well, but they can move side to side extremely well, to the point where they are actually able to flex 180 degrees sideways in a burrow. Like if there was something off to the, like hitting their tail and there was space for them to be able to turn, they would be able to bend 180 degrees, like pretty much in half to like grab whatever it is.
Oh my gosh.
Absolutely wild. Okay. Do we know why it's like this? Like I said,
why?
We know the 4 genes that are causing this, but we don't really know what pressures caused Hero Shrews to have this kind of spine. Like
you would think it would have to be some kind of extreme pressure.
There's a lot of hypotheses of maybe they're burrowing underneath palm trees to try to get insects or whatever and like trying to undergo the weight of a palm or something. I don't know. Maybe it hasn't been documented ever, so we don't know. It's a piece of research that definitely could be explored more. That is for sure.
I mean, obviously, it's to protect them from marauding naturalists that want to step on them.
Well, 100%. The first thing I want to do, obviously, is step on a Hero Shrew. The other piece, which I said I would mention, is the native folks who have been in that area for a very, very, very long time. The Mungbatu, they have known about this, the Mongbetu, sorry. They've known about this particular shrew for a very long time. It's actually regaled within their culture as a symbol of invincibility. If you have any part of the shrew when you are going off to battle, or if you are off on a hunt, it's a symbol of invincibility, that you will have success while you are out there, which is really cool. It's just a really fascinating little shrew, and it completely makes sense. It helps, like, it's all about like protection and such too. So it's just really cool. I wanted to talk about the Hero Shrew. It's been on my list for a while, and I've finally been able to talk about it. I just had to talk a little bit about this guy because what a wild. There's one other shrew species that has a similar spine. It's called Thor's shrew, actually.
Okay.
But they're the only 2 species to have shown any sort of armored-like spine. So
I assume they're pretty closely related.
They are very closely related, yeah. They're like right next to each other on the evolutionary chart. It's so cool. But that is all I had for y'all this week. Hero Shrew. Oh, I should say, my sources this week were Wikipedia and National Geographic. I got some good info from Smithsonian Magazine, Discover Wildlife, and then the research into the spine itself is done by the Louisiana State University. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
So with that, that's the end of our show this week.
That's it. Short and sweet.
We'll see you all next week for another fun episode. All right, bye.
Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach us by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Blue Sky. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can check out our website, strangebynaturepodcast.com, and you can support the show and get ad-free episodes at patreon.com/strangebynature. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.